think weight classes do matter. I've always said I think young Ben is going to be super strong. He's coming up and he will be bull strong. To go with the aggression as well is a dangerous concoction.
Conor Benn is leaping up 2 divisions from 147 to fight a much bigger man. And that's what makes it a 50-50 fight, because I think all round, Conor's the better fighter.
He won't lose, he can't lose. He could fight Conor Benn 100 times, I believe, and beat him 100 times.
Ben and Eubank, I like both guys. So last time I said Ben, this time I'm going to say Eubank.
The first 6 rounds will belong to Conor Benn. He will not be able to keep Conor Benn off for 6 rounds. If he is able to absorb...
You have the potential for both fighters in a super fight being booed into the ring. It's never happened before. This will be the first time he's in there with a genuinely dangerous...
I think weight classes do matter. I've always said I think young Ben is going to be super strong. He's coming up and he will be bold to go with the aggression as well as a dangerous concoction. Conor Benn is leaping up 2 divisions from 147 to fight a much bigger man. And that's what makes it a 50-50 fight, because I think all round Conor's the better fighter. He won't lose. He can't lose. He could fight Conor Benn 100 times, I believe, and beat him 100 times. Ben or Eubank? I like both guys. So, last time I said a Ben. This time I want to say a Eubank. The first 6 rounds will belong to Conor Benn. He will not be able to keep Conor Benn off for 6 rounds if he is able to absorb. You have the potential for both fighters in a super fight being booed into the ring. It's never happened before. This will be the first time he's in there with a genuinely dangerous man. It's just hours till the clash that boxing fans have been eagerly anticipating. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. This fight promises to be as heated and dramatic as the rivalry between their fathers, which spanned 2 epic bouts. As with all major boxing bouts, predictions are flying in from every corner of the boxing world. You know, it's a mismatch. It's an entertaining matchup. Why is it a mismatch? Because of ability, because of weight classes. Chris Jr. is a middleweight and a super middleweight. He's naturally a super middleweight, so he's having to starve himself to come down and, with all of the catch weights and all of this stuff, it's a mismatch. It's he as Tyson Fury, the reigning heavyweight king and an expert on the fight game, has thrown his weight behind the notion that Eubank Jr. will likely be too much for Ben. If it's a 10-5 stone, it's going to be Conor Benn, Fury said, alluding to the lighter weight, which might play into Ben's hands, giving him a speed advantage. But here's where it gets controversial. Fury, while giving Ben a fighting chance at the lower weight, also had a stern warning for him when facing Eubank at full strength. I am going to come in there and stick it on you from the get-go straight away. I'm going to come out there hot, skipping a big right hand to a big flipping head of yours. I don't believe you. You don't believe me? Would you believe him? I think you're going to run. If it's at middleweight, then probably Chris Eubank Jr., Fury continued. But Fury's cautiousness about Eubank isn't rooted purely in his size advantage. It's rooted in a suspicion that Eubank has some deeper issues that may not be as visible to the public. Fury has repeatedly pointed out that Eubank's emotional state might be his Achilles heel. There's no denying that Eubank Jr.'s history with emotional swings and controversial moments in his career could lead to a more unpredictable outcome. He could either shine or break down in front of millions. Eubank's biggest opponent could be the guy in his own head. Fury added, the heat surrounding the doping scandal, the cancellation of their first scheduled fight in 2022, and the media frenzy that followed have undeniably played into Eubank's mental state. This whole thing is just getting on my nerves, to be honest. I ain't got nothing to say. There's no question you can ask me. Eubank, I can't wait to smash your head in. I can't wait to smash your head in. Listen, I've heard enough of your voice. Roy Jones Jr., on the other hand, respects Eubank's development and physical advantages, but he's also aware of Ben's raw talent and potential. However, the controversy here lies in the fact that Jones has openly stated that Ben has what it takes to upset the apple cart. This isn't just about size, strength, or skill. It's about the unpredictability Ben brings into the ring. It's a very tough fight for Conor. I'm not going to say he can't win it, Jones said, but it's going to be a rough one. His best chance is to land a big shot and hope it doesn't hurt him. Chris is a much improved fighter and he's going to be really hard to beat, especially for someone who was smaller than him. It wasn't even a fight that was on our radars. You know, I'm a 147 fighter. He's a 160 fighter and our path just happened to cross. You talk about a stars line. You could say that. But here's where it gets controversial. Jones suggested that Benn could in fact land that game-changing shot, one that could potentially end the fight early. Jones hinted at the possibility that Eubank's improvement may not be enough to carry him through if Benn's power connects. And while that's a reasonable analysis, it leaves open the question of whether Eubank's size could lead to an early knockout or whether Benn will have the endurance to weather a storm that's sure to come. Hey Kay, I came from America. I'd love to ask you one question. My guy. Okay, first things first. How does this fight end this weekend? I got to say no count. I'm going to put a no count, bro. My God. Eddie Hearn, the mastermind behind Benn's promotion, is playing a high-stakes game himself, giving us one of the most controversial takes of all. Hearn suggests that the ring size may play a huge role in determining the outcome. Benn, wanting a smaller 18-foot ring, believes it will prevent Eubank from using his superior movement and boxing skills to evade him. But Hearn, with his typical tact, points out that this could also benefit Eubank if he decides to stand his ground and engage Benn in an all-out war. It could suit Eubank. Hearn said he may decide to stand and have a shootout. Eubank is, I think, quite arrogant. Just got that face. Then you've got Conor, that's very, very emotional, reactive, fired up, you know, like his dad. Like you've only got to look back at the build-up between their parents in the first fight and second fight. Nigel was like wanted to tear him to pieces and Eubank would walk in nice and calm, and they're their father's sons. They're very similar. So a lot will come down to controlling the emotions on Saturday. I was just saying in that interview there, you've got a situation where you walk through a tunnel and walk around the pitch at Spurs in front of 65,000 to get into in here. The controversy lies not just in the strategic choice, but in whether such a decision will work in Eubank's favor to Hearn. By allowing Eubank to plant his feet and throw bombs, he is inadvertently favoring the bigger man's strength over the slicker Benn. This is a high-risk game, and if Eubank's sheer power overcomes Benn's speed and intensity, we could be looking at a very different fight than what Benn's fans expect. Moses Itama, a rising star who has quickly made a name for himself in the boxing world, is one of the many who strongly favors Eubank Jr. as the winner. I would put my money on Eubank Jr. because he is more experienced and he is obviously bigger, it said. Eubank better? Yeah. Well, it's bigger than it ever was. It's 3 times bigger than it was before the 2 positive clomiphene tests. Benn's dangerous early in that fight in my view because he's coming with all that stinging venom and kind of pent-up aggression that he's developed over the last 2.5 years. But I think Eubank's fought the better level of opponents even though he's aged 2.5 years and he's been knocked out by Liam Smith. I go Eubank on points. What do you go? I go Benn early. Early, I just think from the history I'd love to see the Benn family celebrate. But this is where it gets interesting and potentially problematic because its analysis seems to almost completely dismiss the fiery spirit of Conor Benn. Sure, Eubank is the bigger, more experienced fighter, but most pros' statements lacks the nuance required for such a heated matchup. The dynamics of this fight aren't just about physicality. They're also about heart, energy, and who's willing to endure the most punishment. Eubank Jr. may be bigger, but Benn's fire and hunger to prove his worth could lead to something unexpected. Benn's emotional resilience and determination after all that's happened since their first planned meeting could make this a fight of wills. It's easy to back the bigger fighter, but the fire in Benn's belly might be what tips the scales in his favor. Let's just get straight in here. It is Fight Me, Fatal Fury, City of the Rules, a Ring Magazine event at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It all goes down between Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, almost 3 years in the making, but we're here this Saturday night and all the drama will unfold. This fight certainly from the get-go will be all gas, no brakes. But I'm picking Cash Jr. to get the job done and get it done inside 6 rounds. And the sole reason I'm doing this is because experienced players are amazing. Liam Smith, who handed Eubank Jr. a tough defeat, wasn't shy in sharing his thoughts. Anyone who can make welterweight shouldn't be anywhere near middleweight. Smith said Conor will be hoping a lot of things will come into play, but realistically he's too small. There's no denying Smith's expertise in breaking down Eubank's vulnerabilities, especially after his own fight with him. I think Eubank beats my points. Eubank Ben, what do you think happens? You know what? I'm a little bit torn at the moment, but I'll stick with what I've always said. I think Eubank beats my points, but I won't be surprised if Conor wins. I think Eubank is firmly on the slide now. I know I get sick for saying that. I also think 160 is hurting him now. He started to mention it a few times. So that's why I bring Conor into a little bit more. But like I said before, that being said, if Conor flattens Chris, I won't be surprised. I won't be like, wow. But here's where it gets controversial. Smith is hinting that Ben, even though smaller, could still get to Eubank in a way no one has fully predicted yet. Smith knows firsthand how to exploit weaknesses.